name is Debbie Savage. I'm from Coping with Dementia, and we are here, Ed Youngblood and myself are here at the East Hernando Branch Library for an Alzheimer's Learning Day. Ed?
Morning, I'm Ed. As she said, I'm her partner in Coping with Dementia. We're very happy to be here, and we're very happy that the Hernando Library System is circulating our Great Americans Alzheimer's Awareness photo exhibit. It'll be in the libraries for the next 6 months until the end of the year.
Saying about the photo exhibit, a lot of folks might not know what that is. It's been in circulation for almost 2 years, and we developed this for an educational tool. It is 24 famous people that have passed away from Alzheimer's. It is a great exhibit to start a conversation, don't you think, Ed?
Yes.
To start talking about Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yes, and that seems to be what it does. We've had it, as she said, we've had it in the libraries for a year. We estimate that about 500,000 people have seen it, and the reports we get from the librarians are very positive.
Mm-hmm.
It starts a conversation. People want to know more about Alzheimer's and dementia, and that's good because it's a problem that we're going to be dealing with years.
And what's amazing with this exhibit is as that conversation is going on, we find out that there's a lot of people that have dealt with it, but still don't really know what the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia is.
That's
Is
right.
that one of the most common questions we do get is, what's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? I do have a little cheat sheet here, but would you like to talk to them about that a little bit?
Well, certainly. Dementia is a word that applies to a whole range of symptoms that come with these so-called memory diseases. It's more than memory. It's cognition. People lose the ability to learn. It affects their vision, their hearing, their sense of smell, even the dexterity in their hand. Dementia has a big impact on people, not only their mind, but their bodies.
So it's not just memory only?
Oh, no, it's not just memory only, it's more. Alzheimer's is a specific identifiable disease that is a cause of dementia. Altogether, there are more than 100 identified causes of dementia. We talk so much about Alzheimer's because it is the big one. Up to 75% of people living with dementia, what they have is Alzheimer's.
We just were talking about some of the most frequent questions, and one of them is, what are some of the early signs? We do get that a lot. And a lot of people believe that this is part of normal aging. And it really isn't part of normal aging. So some of the signs that you might be looking for, as we mentioned before, is memory loss. But that's not the only thing. How about getting lost, Ed, going to different places, that are familiar?
Yeah, it's just the things we do every day and take for granted a person with dementia or Alzheimer's is unable to do. This is why they get lost. It's why they wander.
How about managing money?
Managing money, the checkbook. It creates a real problem for families when a member has Alzheimer's. And one of the problems we deal with is that probably 80% of American families that are experiencing dementia can't afford professional care. That's why we devote so much of our time to training of home caregivers.
We were just talking about some of the warning signs, and Ed was mentioning getting lost, going to familiar places, or kind of not being able to balance a checkbook. But it goes a lot further than that, and we don't have to look at it so closely as if things are not normal. What is changing? It could be behaviors, it could be mood personalities, it could be misplacing things. So, then we have a lot of people that talk to us about, well, they have that, but what stages? We get that question a lot about what stage are we in?
Yeah, we hear that a lot. What stage of disease do I need to worry about next? We try to avoid that question because it's not helpful. This is a irreversible, progressive, and terminal disease. It is fatal. And as of today, we do not have a cure. We do not have ways to slow it down. But what we try to emphasize to caregivers is, although there is generally a progress with can be identified with dementia. Every person is an individual, and you need to deal with your loved one as you always have. They are the same person. They're now dealing with a specific disease. They have dementia. And worrying about what stage they're in is just not helpful. It tends to dehumanize them. We also emphasize, although this is a very difficult disease, as I said, it is fatal. We also emphasize seize the moment. Try to find those moments of joy when you can still share with them what they have as a human being.
And how about, we always say, until there's a cure, there's only care. So living in the moment is going to be the most beneficial, getting support that you need, and you can manage through it. Finding out what the stages are is unimportant when you're really trying to manage the person. So we have to take away from this is let's not treat the disease, let's treat the person. So, you know, we have a most common asked question that Ed and I get probably most every workshop that we do or in front of everybody, and it's kind of a touchy type of question, but it is Alzheimer's disease hereditary or genetic? And the answer is pretty complex, but Ed has a great way of kind of identifying that.
The answer to that is yes, but we don't like to stop with that. It's not a simple answer because the great majority of people who have Alzheimer's did not inherit it from their families. Actually, only about 2.5% of the total population of Alzheimer's can be traced to heredity. The reason we don't like to leave the answer as yes is it scares everyone. People who have had a grandmother or an uncle, whatever, someone with dementia, they say, oh, I'm going to get it. And we see this in workshops all the time, and we try to reassure them. The likelihood of that is very, very slim. So, but it's like everything that has to do with this disease, there just aren't any simple yes and no answers. It's always complex.
And so that scares people. So what we like to say is the small percentage that Ed is talking about is that 2%. It's the 2% that has been diagnosed before 65, or actually before 60. So that is the genetic link could be from your mother or father that was diagnosed in their early 60s or 50s. And they have that specific gene that can be tested. As we get into over 65 and 75, it's not so much of a genetic or hereditary link.
No, late stage.
So that's why it's such a small percentage.
Yeah, late stage Alzheimer's, which is the largest percentage of people with the disease, there is practically no hereditary link. Unfortunately, we don't know what causes it. If we do, researchers might be able to locate a cure, but we don't know what causes Alzheimer's. And what we've learned recently, just in the last couple of years with research, is that we've not found any helpful information by studying people who have Alzheimer's disease. What our researchers are doing is moving to a much, much earlier period of time in life, or before people have Alzheimer's, to try to see when and how it sets in and why. And as of today, we don't know that yet. This obsession with heredity kind of illustrates one of the big problems with the disease. Just about a month ago, AARP did a survey of its members and discovered that Alzheimer's is the #1 feared disease in America, above heart attack, above lung cancer, or cancer, above strokes in that order. One thing we really try to talk to caregivers about is 90% of us will live out our lives without ever contracting any form of dementia. So again, let's not focus on the fear, let's not focus on the negative side of it. Let's also look at the positive side, and that is the great majority of our population is not and will not be affected by it.
So what Ed is saying is a little bit not scary, that 90% of us will not get Alzheimer's. So that means 10%, and that is the 1 out of 10 is what is the numbers from Alzheimer's Association. But even with all of those questions and all of the things that we have going on, our main mission and why we're here at the East Hernando Branch Library and why there is the photo exhibit is education. Education is probably the biggest tool that we have to combat the preconceived notions of what
Yes.
we think the disease is, and to have a better understanding of the symptoms and characteristics so we can better interact. Some of the resources that we have around, of course, is us coping with dementia, but while we're here in Hernando County, spending some time with the Alzheimer's Learning Day, we have a great resource here in the county, which is called the Alzheimer's Family Organization. We work in 8 counties, a nonprofit that really provides as many resources and programs as we can for the caregivers, partnering with many different people in the community, such as our sheriff's department, such as a neurologist or
Meridien-
home health cares
Meridien
or
Research.
Meridien Research, which will be here today. So getting that education and sure stopping by the library systems to find some of those resources, because they've been educated now on how they can help the public, and being a little bit proactive of saying, well, I've got something here, maybe you can go to a support group, maybe you can go to an educational workshop. So get educated, and the first place to start is right here in your own county with the Alzheimer's Family Organization. Great to have you here. We're at the East Hernando Branch Library, and you know, we were talking about, Ed and I were talking about all the things that are happening with Alzheimer's and dementia. Some of the most frequent questions we get, you know, what is Alzheimer's and is there a cure? And we mentioned that until there is a cure, all they have is really care.
Mm-hmm.
And so we talked about education, and education is what the Alzheimer's Family Organization does. And you're the executive director, and can you tell us a little bit about what we're doing in this county for caregivers?
So we provide education and other supportive services for caregivers. A good example is on August 9th, we will be at the residence of Timber Pines. We will be providing a caregiver learning event. It'll start at 10 o'clock in the morning and end at 2. And as I said, our host is the residents of Timber Pines. We get a lot of support from them. There'll be a light breakfast and there will be a lunch provided by them. You are one of ours.
Which is always good.
It's always very good. And you're our afternoon speaker. And we also have the Hernando County Sheriff's Office coming out to speak in the morning, Denise Maloney. And then we have the Veterans Administration
Right,
coming
which is
up in the morning
always
as well.
But you know, part of the deal about really being able to manage the disease is really knowing what the symptoms and side effects and why are they doing this?
Exactly.
They look the same, but they're not doing the same thing.
Exactly.
And we get at the end of all of these educational events, we get, wow, I wish I knew that a little while ago, don't we?
Or a lot of times caregivers get very emotional because they feel very guilty that they've been doing it wrong all this time.
Yeah.
So one of the benefits to many of our caregiver learning events is we also are partners, as you know, with Senior Helpers, and they'll be providing a virtual dementia tour bus that day. And I've been a nurse since 1980. I know that dates me a little bit, but I always thought I had a handle on what my patients were experiencing until I actually went through the BDT. And it was amazing to me to think that someone at mid-stage Alzheimer's disease has so many things going on that are creating barriers to their day-to-day life.
And as we said earlier, it's not just about memory. We all
Exactly.
think it is, but it affects so much. And education is really the biggest key. And Alzheimer's Family Organization, like we said, is a real resource here in Hernando County and 8 central.
Yes, we serve 8 counties: Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco, Hernando, Citrus, Lake Sumter, and Marion counties.
There's
And
kind of a
we
little
do
bit.
that with 6 employees, 1 of which is me, and 2 of which are part-time, and a lot of volunteers, which of course Deb and Ed are huge supporters of the organization and volunteers for us. We could never exist without the help of our volunteers.
So we talk about programs and services, you know, and to a caregiver, that's like, you're gonna fix my problem?
Exactly.
But that's not what we can do, and we need to let people know that we're not here to fix it, we're here to support them. How are we gonna do that?
Well, our organization, which has been in existence for 24 years now, we have a lot of services. This is one of them. It's our Caregiver's Companion. It's very beautiful in color
It
now.
is
We're very happy. But we also provide respite care financial reimbursement if you are a member of the AFO, meaning you find someone, you pay them for the respite care of your loved one, submit the bill to us and we will reimburse you. We have our Wanderers Reunification Program, and
Which is a big deal.
if anyone that knows me knows this is my soapbox. We were fortunate enough recently to receive a grant from the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, and it's for our Wanderers Reunification. It has two portions to it. One is either an ID bracelet or pendant, but the one that I love the most is this scent kit, Out of Harm's Way. It's a human scent preservation kit. We have partnered, thanks to you, with Find 'em Friends in Citrus County, and we have worked with all the sheriff's offices, as you know, to try to get these implemented in all
Right.
8 counties. So currently, in Hernando County, we are working very closely with Sergeant Matt Willowbridge through the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. So the kit, let me tell you a little bit about it. So we always encourage, if the loved one with dementia can do this themselves, we encourage it, but a lot of
Sure,
times they may
sure.
not be able to. So if that's the case, we provide, in this
Some-
kit,
some sterile
some
gloves.
sterile gloves, and those sterile gloves are in here so that there's no cross-contamination of
Correct.
scent, because we want the purest scent possible.
On
So-
this ad.
Correct, so if you're going to do it yourself, you put the gloves on. From there, you take the sterile gauze, you open up the package, you take the sterile gauze, and you rub it all over the person with dementia, everywhere, to get a true scent. You take the sterile gauze, you put it in this double insulated glass jar, which will hold that scent about 7 years, possibly
Yeah,
longer.
Yeah, possibly longer. They say it's even almost over 8 and 9 years, so.
Wow. So you put that in here, then you're gonna label it, the date, the name of the person who's been scented, and the person who actually provided
Correct.
the rub
The
down,
pillow,
if
right.
you will. And then you put the evidence sticker. This shows that it has not been opened. We ask that you put it all back in the box, put it on top of the refrigerator, and if your loved one goes missing, you call the sheriff's department or your local law enforcement, so that the first thing they can do is dispatch the dogs that are specially trained to try to find folks. It's not the same as, you know, you see
No,
the
these are
canines that are out there to catch the criminals. These are bloodhounds trained
Specially
specifically
trained.
for this purpose. And we have seen significant results, and we're very happy to promote this
And
program.
it saves the taxpayers a lot of money because
Yes.
of all the other expenses that go
Yes.
along with it.
Yes.
But you're not gonna get bit, you're going to get lit.
Exactly.